guys, welcome back to Within the Cauldron. I'm your host Nico, and today we are discussing beyond monogamy, which would be polyamory and the LGBT community and everything that includes that. Uh, let's go around and introduce ourselves in pronouns. I'm Nico, he, they pronouns. I do accept she from the back, it doesn't matter.
I am Titan. I go by she, her, daddy.
I'm Issa, go by she, her.
I am Maka. I go by she, her.
I'm Gwen. I'm also she, her. I'm Kenzie. Also she, her.
Rabbit EMT, and he, and
Him.
him. Yeah. I'm not. It's been a long day. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Warden. I go by she, her. Also daddy.
I love that.
Daddy Warden.
So first, let's kind of talk about what is ethical non-monogamy or polyamory, whichever term you prefer. Um, so these are relationships that don't conform to the normative as far as like two people dating in a relationship. So these are structures that are outside of that, and there are many variations. Um, my group, I'm in a four-person poly. We practice what's called kitchen table polyamory, where everybody's comfortable. We all live together. We act as a family unit.
Oh, me?
Yep.
So we have PAC, which Rabbit EMT and Warden are part of our PAC. And that is, I wouldn't say it's really romantic or anything like that. However, they are family. They are my hearts. They are my souls. They are everything that I look forward to at the end and beginning of each day. And then I also have my KTP polycule, which consists of my husband and our two other partners. So that's ours.
I guess I'll do it. Okay. We'll call it, our goal is to become kitchen table because we're going to be moving in at the end of the year together. So the relationship dynamics are all going to be all nesting partners at the end of the year. At the moment, Mac and Kenzie live in an apartment, and Gwen is my wife, and we live together in our house, and they're going to be moving in with us. And we love each other very dearly.
What do you want to say?
Well, I just have anal retentive. We won't all be nesting partners because we aren't all dating.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we'll all be part of a net.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
But the quad partners will be part nesting partners.
yes.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
her and I are dating, and they're
We're
married, and they're figuring shit out.
Yeah, we're exploring.
Yes.
Awesome.
Does that all make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
And for those that don't know, so a nesting partner is, and poly is partners that live together, regardless of kind of how their poly dynamic works.
Accurate.
Oh, I guess it's me. Let's see. We're probably well. I have three partners, parallel with one. That's my nesting partner. We've been married 26-ish years. And I'm also, we have more of a kitchen table kind of situation. Warden is also one of my partners, and Raven, who is supposed to be in here, who apparently has fallen asleep, is my third partner. We're fairly similar to a kitchen table dynamic, although I'm really parallel with my wife's partners. I know them, but it's not quite kitchen table with those. And then we have a table type arrangement with Raven and Warden. And of course, Pack with Titan, Pack too. So
It's on you, Daddy Warden.
I wonder if we can get Rob's face to turn red saying that. Just watching
And
Squirm.
there it goes.
And there we go. So honestly, Rob covered most of it. So I'm just in a relationship with him. Raven is my meta, and his wife is my meta. And I am friendly with all of them. And I am in pack with Daddy Titan and the rest of our feral community.
Awesome.
So yeah, Rob pretty much already covered it.
I guess my next question is, how did you come into the poly lifestyle? Um, I kind of fell into it by accident. So me and I hate the term. My first partner, Austin, we were dating. We did the whole pineapple thing for a while, and then kind of got sick of people coming in and out. So we started looking for a like long-term third, and we eventually met who's now my husband, Alex, and that was 2 years in us or me and Austin dating. Met Alex and dated online for a year, and then um, 3 years into that relationship, we moved in, got married. Then he moved in a year and a half later, and now we've been together for, gosh, I think 10 years.
I had to figure out how to unmute. So pack came. I actually met one of my pack mates, Bear, first, and he introduced me to the rest of the pack, and it just kind of fell together. We all get along, and me being the chaos goblin and gremlin that I am seems to work really well with the rest of the pack. And then the quad that I have going on, it's been 6 months, maybe a little bit over, where it's been more steady, more official, I guess. And so that came about my husband's partner and my meta at the time started a triad with my meta's partner, and then we ended up all spending time together, and it clicked into place. And since then, that's kind of where we've been at. We're going to see them for Pride at the end of the month, and then taking the oldest child to their first Pride rally. So excited.
Mhm.
Go backwards and start going.
How did I get started in poly? Well, shit. Well, partially it kind of happens that when you start questioning your gender identity and your sexuality as a young adult, you start questioning about everything about yourself, and you kind of just realize, hey, I have the capability to fall in love with more than one person.
Mhm.
I know society's not really big on that, but I have this capability. What do I do with it? And then, flash forward 11, 12 years later, now I'm here, married, in a polycule, being gay as fuck. I'm a woman now. Kenzie?
You're a big girl now.
I kind of fell into polyamory accidentally. My girlfriend Macklin decided she wanted to explore polyamory, and I wasn't all for it at first, but once I started exploring, actually talking to new people, I kind of realized how beautiful of a thing it is. I didn't know if I was capable of loving more than one person without falling in love with, or without falling out of love with the other, but I found out I'm capable of a lot more love than I thought, and it just keeps getting more beautiful as we go on. I've only been into poly for about a year now, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Oh,
Yay. So as Kenzie said, it's been about a year. I fell into it accidentally. I've always been kind of curious about it, but I wasn't sure if I could actually do it. Because part of me was like, oh, what about jealousy? What if I get jealous? But I've learned that it happens regardless of anything. But the way it happened is I met Issa at a witchy class, ritual class, and we started hanging out, and then I started developing feelings for her, and I was like, oh fuck. It's like, what do I do now? Because I was in a monogamous relationship at the time, so I was like, how do I tell my existing partner? Like, I was just scared and wasn't sure how to go about it. But I eventually opened up to her and just like, listen, this is how I'm feeling, and we ended up going forward with it after that. So, yeah, I didn't know if I could love more than one person before jumping into poly, and I realized I can. It's something that society doesn't teach us as being a normal thing. So
absolutely.
yeah, so you're just like, does this really exist? Can I do this? And then I confirmed I absolutely can love more than one person. I love you in a different way. You're just a brat.
No, we just have that meta rivalry.
Yes. I've been in poly. I am 45. I've been in poly.
She don't look it.
No, she don't.
Stop. Since I was 18. As soon as I could legally do what I wanted to do, I discovered that I was geared to love more than one person. I shifted a lot in polymono situations where I just dated someone who was in a polyamorous relationship, but I didn't care to have more than one partner. And then I had multiple partners. And when I transitioned and started dating, of course, I married my wife, but when we first started dating, I explained to her that I'm polyamorous, and I've been it just makes up who I am. I am definitely one of the people who's on board for the whole, sun, moon, and stars. That one person just doesn't. I never thought it was fair. And this is not any judgment on anybody who's in a monogamous relationship, of course. I just never thought it was fair for one person to be responsible for the entirety of everything that I needed in a relationship, because I just found that to be unreasonable. And I have been doing that basically since then, and I believe it is one of the most beautiful things that can happen to a person if it's done in a consensual and supportive way. Pull my hair, thanks.
It's not even a fun way.
Not even okay.
Oh wow. I got into poly the wrong way. The first thing, one of the first rules is never get into poly to fix a relationship. Well, unfortunately, that's actually what me and my wife did. Now, mind you, there's a few caveats to this. We're already semi-open to start with, but we were both very bad at monogamy. My wife, not so much. Me, very bad. very, very bad. And I also would narc myself out because I loved my wife and I felt terrible about what would happen. And, we finally sat down and I remember the sit down we had, we both still smoked at the time. And we went out to our back porch and we just bought a new house. We're working on it. And we looked at each other and said, we got to do something. Something's got to break here. And the first thing we came up with was, we're not getting a divorce. One, it's too expensive. Two, we got 3 kids that we love. 3, we don't hate each other. We still love each other, but we've got an issue going on. So let's see what we can do. And obviously, we called my sister, who is poly, and very successfully, and said, what do we do? Let's look into this. And we had already had a semi-open relationship at this point in time. So we started doing the self work on it. And I'm not gonna lie, our first relationships were absolute disasters for both of us. The jealousy and everything. And luckily, we're a success story that came out on the other side. Stronger, with better communication, with a better relationship. But I'm going to say this as, I am not the example to follow. I am the absolute bad example. Don't do it my way. But coming out the other side, we came out better people. And we've been poly now for, I guess we're going on 10 years. I've got some great partners. In addition to this, Morgan's been spectacular since we started seeing each other. I wish Raven wasn't asleep. She's another partner. I've been with her for 3 years now. I was never, like I said, good at monogamy, and I almost am to the point where I feel there's a genetic component to it. Looking at my father's background and what my father went through. My father was a serial monogamist. I'm not joking when I say he got married and divorced 9 times. And I truly believe he loved every one of his wives. My sister, like I said, is poly and fairly successful. And she's kind of been like a little bit of a coach. Poly has been, I'm going to say, for me, has been a situation where the self-exploration and the expansion of my understanding of myself has been paramount, and even parallel to my own journey of faith, actually. I'm obviously I'm pagan, and they've almost gone hand in hand to a certain degree in the later stages. That's it.
So I guess that leaves me. So I've been in poly for also about 10 years. Because my first poly relationship, I will say, also very much not the postcard to write home about. I was a serial monogamous growing up. I grew up knowing my sexuality as bisexual because those are the terms that we had to use. And for me, genders never really mattered. I always just kind of was attracted to the person once I got to know them. And I never really paid attention much to that, but I used to only date one person at a time because that's what I was taught. You had to be loyal. And I would say Titan and Rob can attest, I'm a very, very loyal person. So when it was introduced to me by my best friend, whom I was always kind of attracted to when I moved back into Tulsa. She had a boyfriend at the time. Of what if I joined them? I was just like, well, no, because that would be cheating for you guys. And she's like, no, it's not, because we're both in the same room and it's consensual and we're all adults here. And I was like, but no, that's cheating. That's wrong. I was in a very, very rigid mindset. So I had to get over that hurdle of rewriting my rules in my head and what rules actually exist. So once I got past that hurdle, I did wind up joining their relationship and we were a triad. That was a clusterfuck in itself, but I still love my best friend to this day. And that was not a healthy relationship. And once that one, I will say, imploded, I was going to write off poly and just be like, no, that was a train wreck. Why would I do that again? But honestly, I can love more than one person at the same time. And since I threw that rule out the window, I don't see why I have to try and draw it back in. And since then, I have actually not been in a monogamous relationship. I have been in polyamorous situations since.
Awesome. Now this one will be a short question. Is everybody here witchy or like witchy adjacent? Pagan,
No.
Satanist? No?
Blessed be.
Blessed be.
That's true.
I think I'm the only oddball out.
Interesting. That is something that I've noticed, is that in polyamory is very common within the pagan community. And I actually have the answer to why. So ages ago, we did an interview with a man named Oberon Zell. He was the originator of kind of brought the free love hippie movement into the pagan community and coined the term polyamory. So he's the man responsible for like marketing polyamory to the pagans.
Yeah, I'm actually Facebook friends with one of his original with one of Oberon's wife's polymorphs. And he actually posts about her all the time since she is long past, and
Yes.
he still grieves. He loves her.
Oh yeah. So my next question is, how has that intersection between your spiritual practice and like queer identities and poly been for you as like a community experience? I found it very accepting. I'm totally out. I'm a gay man married to a bisexual man with another bisexual partner who's also dating a lovely trans woman. And we do coven work. We're all, well, three of us are pagan. My one partner is atheist, but he will come to rituals with us. He enjoys everything. Um, and it's been an absolutely wonderful experience.
For me, I never really had the opportunity to explore poly in the pagan setting, or even be accepting, have people around me that were accepting of paganism until I joined my local community and had more people, like one helped me be a better person in the terms of sticking up for myself and being brave and going, hey, this is who I am and you can accept it or you can walk the plank. And so being able to have that and to share that with other people that I love and care about has been one of the most amazing experiences that I've had, as well as helped me deepen my relationship with my own deities. and deepen my relationship within my polycule, within my pack, and even just within people that around me that aren't even really in it at all, because it's allowed me to be authentically who I am without reservation, no notes. And so that's how it's been with me, and especially within the community, how they've accepted me and loved me and helped me grow.
Let's go next.
I guess we'll do it. Me first this time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first and foremost, the four of us are coven. So a lot of our intersections happen as a group of people anyway. As far as the pagan community is concerned, I am trans. I transitioned 7 years ago. And I find that paganism as a whole has a very, like others have said, has a very accepting base. I mean, look at Beltane.
Yes.
You know, so, you know, the idea that I can practice my spiritual beliefs and be accepted and loved for who I am is a core component of why we got together. Many of us in our group, our particular coven follows dark goddesses. So, like, for example, I follow the Morgan, and others can speak, of course, to what they do. But yeah, I would say that overall, we have been able to find very accepting places. Like myself personally, I left Christianity in my early 20s because it wasn't accepting of anything. And it's a big thing for me to find a belief set that actually aligns with almost every like checkbox of I'm queer, I'm trans, I'm poly, I'm me, all of those things just fit into the same basket and they all thrive together. So I would definitely say that the community as a whole is very accepting and very loving. There are some conservative elements that sometimes you hit up with different community intersections, but for the most part, everybody's pretty cool.
Yeah, in my experience, I left Christianity at 16 years old, and then I found the wonderful pagan community at 18 years old. And they have done nothing but welcome me with open arms. And in my experience, they are the kindest, most non-judgmental people I've ever interacted with. Some of the people that I've interacted with are kind of older and don't necessarily understand polyamory because they've been, taught a different way their whole lives, and haven't really heard of it or had exposure to it. So they ask questions and still don't always understand it, but regardless, they love me and they support me in what I do. I follow Lilith. I got her tattoo on me recently. So, but yeah, the pagan community is wonderful and has always been very kind and open to me.
Kenzie?
Oh,
Kenzie's turn. I had a less than exceptional life growing up, and it kind of caused me to go into this very skeptical atheism mindset. But then I met Maka, and she started introducing me to the little pagan group that she went to. And at first I would sit on the sidelines, I'm antisocial, but they allowed me the comfort. They didn't pressure me to do anything, and that's kind of what caused me to open up. Eventually I just started realizing that these people aren't going to force me to do anything like other religions, and it made me more comfortable to dive into it. And I started just realizing that, like, no matter what I am or what I go through in life, these people are going to accept me. And I don't think I could ever find anything
as beautiful as the pagan community. So far, I have never ran into a single person who doesn't practice what they preach in pagan. And it's always kindness and acceptance. And it's just a really good pillar to revolve your life around. It's just a very healthy religion for me, you know, especially when you're many different things like bi and trans and, you know, all the things that a lot of other religions frown upon. Pagan is just far superior, in my opinion.
Awesome.
Is it possible that we could let the other two go and then you come back to me at the end?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Well, it goes to me. So, well, I'm the straight guy in the room. I am pagan. I was raised between three religions: Roman Catholic, Jewish, and Jehovah's Witness. So there's a combination, a very confusing one. In '93, um, I was in Somalia, um, and it caused a what I would class a crisis of faith, specifically with Christianity, and trying to equate what I saw as moralistic tenets of Christianity and my actions, of which I felt no remorse for. That tenet of Christianity is you know you have to recognize and feel remorse for what you have done, and I just didn't. So I had a very good friend of mine that uh, started talking to me about the Astru and Norse faiths, Northern heathenism, and it just clicked, and it felt right. And I've pretty much been ever since. Um, as for it with poly, um, that that Norse faith has far fewer implications that revolve around rote monogamy the way Christianity does. Um, and it felt, hey, look who showed up. It just felt right. And I like I said, I left Christianity and never looked back. No regrets.
Absolutely. I'm also a Norse polytheist. So, and from a Reconstructionist standpoint, polyamory was a cultural practice in areas of Norway where you were capable of having, typically, it was a heteronormative, where you would have your wife and then you were also allowed to have relationships with the woman of the house, the housekeeper.
Yeah, no, and there's also some readings and some explanations and in some of the few texts that we have left that actually espouse that it may have been even more socially acceptable for even broader romantic relationships.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Because if I
even
remember it,
possibly some homosexual relationships, some queer relationships may have been accepted. I mean, the Norse gods were notorious for cross-dressing. I mean, let's be blunt.
there's a lot of very LGBT behavior in Norse
Yeah,
paganism, despite some people's idea that it did not exist.
yeah, it's you know,
Loki is very
let's be blunt.
questionable.
Loki was gender fluid.
Loki was technically never gendered in the sagas,
That's what I
which
said.
Yeah,
is
He'd be
very
just be
tricky.
very questionable.
Yeah, and Loki also never divorced his first wife, so in canonically in the sagas, Loki has two wives. and the horse.
Yeah.
But we'll not talk about the horse.
Hey, right, and since my wife is also Norse, is also a Northern heathen, and she likes to remind me what the divorce rules for us look like. She's the car and your guns, go away. Do I get the dogs? No, you don't get the dogs. Oh man.
I wanted to pause for a second. Raven, what are your pronouns? Oop,
They went bye-bye.
lost them. The Wi-Fi. I guess we'll find out once they
I
come
think
back.
she's reconnecting to her.
Yeah.
I think she's reconnecting to her. I think she was on her phone's internet and she went to connect to her router, which I'm actually going to do right now because we have a storm blowing in. So probably the main router will probably be the best way. So I will be right back.
No problem. So that brings us to you, Warden.
So I guess I'm kind of the oddball here in that I'm non-pagan. But I am agnostic. I grew up Christian, but I wasn't actually believing. I was raised. Let's just say this: I was raised Christian, but I am hyper logical on the spectrum, and so I kind of never really bought into it all. Like I understood that there is a higher power because honestly, us humans as the top of the food chain is just idiotic. But I didn't quite understand Christianity or what all it taught, and none of it was very contradictory. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. I dabbled into Wicca when I was in middle school or so. But I am a squirrel, and I didn't remember things all the time, so I didn't stick with it. And it also has a bunch of rules of, doing rituals and spells. And I never really got into all of that because it never really connected with me. But I'm wholly accepting of all religions for what makes everybody feel more connected to what they feel they need to be connected to. I am perfectly content to go take a walk barefoot through the woods, and I will feel connected that way. So I grew up in the woods, and that's where I find my center. And for being poly, I kind of described earlier of having to unwrite some rules that I had written in my head of what relationships should look like. And I kind of view being in the community, I happen to be surrounded by majority pagans. So, like, I think our entire pack is pagan, I think. Like, Titan, correct me if I'm wrong, because, like, you've got Rob, you, Bear, Grizz, I think, is also. I was like, you know what? Show of hands or show of fingers, who's not pagan?
I think we have a few that aren't strictly pagan, either agnostic, atheist, but overall, that is the
Yeah.
flavor of
So
our own, and different types of paganism as well.
yeah, so it's like, so how it interacts and has benefit my life is just being around it and being absorbed by it is, so honestly, my pack is primarily pagan or of some sort. And I appreciate it, and I learn something all the time through everyone. I think my growth as a person has become exponential. I mean, it always will be exponential. Just being involved with our community here.
Awesome. My next question is, how do you guys handle jealousy, sharing time, and conflicts in your polycule? So, for me, we have a kitchen table poly. We go out as a group. We do dinner dates as a group, and then we also do like one-on-one dates. Um, and we kind of have a uh, rotation on who cuddles with who, or somebody wants company type of thing. Um, Jealousy, we've been pretty open about communication. We haven't really run into jealousy in our polycule. We're all pretty comfortable with and very open to the possibility of new partners or really working things out. And then for just turn your and for conflicts, so generally we talk things through, but I also have the system that we call the council. The council is our cats. So if we're just having a disagreement and we can't um, come to a conclusion, and normally it's over something silly, uh, like my husband, uh, bless his heart, likes to want to like fortify our house and is like, I want a giant concrete wall around the house. And it's like, no, honey, we don't have the money. That's very expensive. We can't level out the yard. And so that goes to the council. So we tell the cats what's going on, and we shelf it. And it's been very helpful in our relationship.
Like actual cats, like pet cats.
Yeah, yeah.
That's hilarious.
So it's great if you're just going around in circles and there's like you're arguing for no reason, and we tell the cats shelf it, and then if it becomes like a routine thing, we'll like really look at like what we need to do for it. But sometimes somebody's grumpy, didn't have enough coffee, didn't sleep well, hungry, whatever, and they're just a little grumpy that day.
Aren't we all?
Why does it not surprise me that my brother is the one wanting to fortify everything?
Yes.
So for our for our quad, because that is the one I primarily have the most conflict. When I first came into poly, I had lived a life of monogamy while being very unhappy with monogamy. And so it made the most sense to me. And I still had and still do have so many years of monogamous condition and thinking that I've had to retract on, that there have been a lot of times where there's been a lot of conflict, there's been a lot of jealousy. And I am a researcher. So I get the books, I go to the podcast I go to conventions where I am learning from really good poly presenters. I just recently went to one it was by Dan and Don Steele, and so they have the poly toolkit, a phenomenal resource, and so I use my resources. But in addition to that, we talk a lot. There is no such thing as over communication between any of us. Because we are long distance, we use voice notes instead of text messages, things like that. And we have a separate chat for any issues that need to get brought to the table, and we call it the kitchen table. So that way we can bring everything there, we can communicate through it, and we work on, can we find compromises? Can we make sure that everyone is feeling heard and loved? And a big part of that is having the empathy and curiosity to address those issues. For here at home, when we are when my husband and I, when we have any issues that are related to our polycule, we take those outside of our home. We go to our backyard, we go to our back pasture, we go find somewhere to sit in nature or away from the area where we can communicate in peace and make sure that what we're communicating through is going to be sustainable long term. And we started viewing our feelings as tools, like jealousy is a tool. It lets us know that there is some need that's not being met or something along those lines. So we've learned to look at those feelings and some of those we call them negative emotions, but really they're not. They just are. But some of those more commonly viewed negative emotions as tools, and try and figure out what are we doing. And then we also all do our own shadow work. I think that's the biggest thing, is doing the shadow work to get to the place where you can be confident and comfortable in who you are, so that way you can fill the cups of the other people around you.
I think it's the one first.
Okay.
And we totally forgot to go back to Gwen as well to answer the last question about the community and how it has helped.
Yes.
I wasn't going to say anything unless
Why
someone
ask Robert?
someone brought it up. Because I know that we have time, and we got people, and Raven popped in and trying to figure things out. With the community, it's, I guess, to cycle back to the last question, it really has been a difference between the capital and the lowercase p in pagan, because the lowercase p in pagan is basically secular living, is basically not adhering to like the Judeo-Christian Abrahamic model that's kind of been hammered into Western civilization for the last couple thousand years, that we've been inculcated with since birth, and um, and and that's very freeing, because it's very live and let live, do what you want, and then you run into the capital P pagans, with especially the older, more traditional kinds of Wicca and witchcraft and occultism, and you'll see a lot of people whose documents will say, you know, um, if we want to take it via the 20th century occultism, we go back and we get like the Book of Law with Thelema and Crowley, and love is the only law, but most of the people around him were pretty homophobic, and it was pretty heterosexist. And then you switch over and you have like Gardnerian Wicca, and you have all acts of love and pleasure are my rituals, but only acts of heterosexual love and pleasure actually really mean anything for British traditional Wicca. And so then you start dealing with all that, and you try to figure out where to separate yourself from different capital P pagan paths, and allowing yourself to be the lowercase p, and letting yourself just connect with the earth and connect with nature. Because when you connect with earth and connect with nature, which is the soul of paganism, is you realize that most species on this planet are not monogamous. Most species on this planet are not heterosexual. A lot of species on this planet naturally go through gender changes. The whole of biology and in reality on this planet alone, and we're only one of countless star systems in the universe. It's so broad here, and we got the rest of the universe to go. And you're like, shit, maybe it's not so crazy that I want to live in a way that I love more than one person, or maybe that I want to love someone of similar gender that I am, or that I want to live as the gender that I wasn't assigned. So that's breaking away from the capital P into the lowercase p. That's everything, in my opinion, because as trans people, like we've experienced discrimination in the community, and especially in the older community, and it's been hard, but it's all about finding people who are kind of actually down to earth instead of just stuck in their heads, and more egocentric than anything. Now I forgot the actual question that I was supposed to, the second question before Titan graciously reminded.
It's how you handle jealousy, sharing time with partners, and conflicts in your relationships.
Okay, so sharing time, I try to be very flexible and understand that sometimes I might have more to give, and sometimes I might have more need. Sometimes I might be needier, and I might need to rely on, I'll tell my partner, I need, more time. And other times I might have more space to let them have, fun and frolic and go do those things, because not everyone's going to have the same likes and dislikes. Some people are going to like the same external activities, and some people aren't. Um, uh, Kenzie and I love to go running through the woods. We love the woods. Woods is great. I have hundreds of pictures from the last couple of months. And these two are rave queens, and that's not really my scene, and I can't speak for Kenzie, but okay,
No,
it's not her scene either. And so sometimes it's all just about being flexible and realize, is it about me, or is it in my needs, or is it about actually making sure my partner is allowed to be fully happy and self-actualized themselves? It's a greater understanding of love, instead of a love that focuses on me, but a love that focuses on the people I love. So anyway, I think it's your turn, Kenzie.
Yeah, I struggled with jealousy a lot in the beginning, but working through it with, my own self-reflection and my therapist, I realized a lot of it was rooted in abandonment fear. And once I gave my partner enough time to just keep proving to me that they weren't, in fact, leaving me for this other person, everything slowly got better. And I started realizing more and more that, like, I don't have to be that person's everything. There's some things they'll get from me, some things they'll get from another person, but it honestly makes things better because there's not so much pressure on you to be this perfect person who fills every slot, checks every box for your partner. And so instead of jealousy, it's more of, I think of it as relief. You don't have as much stress on your relationship because, it's kind of a split load. And the more I started thinking about it that way rather than I'm not good enough, the better everything got.
Me turn. As far as jealousy goes, when any of us is struggling, we just talk about it, because it happens. Sometimes our brains aren't very kind to us, and things happen, and you're just like, I'm feeling more jealous today, and I need help through it. So we do our best to communicate with each other and give each other reassurance. I think that's what's key, is reassuring each other that both of you are enough. You're enough too, and of course, but like that we're all
It's at
enough.
the bottom of the screen. I know I'm enough.
Stop. But like we're all enough for each other. We all,
Yeah,
love each other.
but I made Nico laugh, so that's the whole point.
Okay, fair. And we have a group chat, and it's called Too Gay to Function Polycule Chat.
No, that's just what you turned it to last week.
It evolves.
It used to be Queer Chaos Gang, too.
I love that.
But I thought Too Gay to Function was really funny. Because Mean Girls.
Yeah.
What's the other one?
Communication, jealousy, conflict.
Yeah. Time shared was the other part. So on Tuesday nights and Wednesdays are me and Issa's dedicated time, and Fridays are me and Kenzie's dedicated time. So it's like day when I don't work, and all of it's just like dedicated to her, and then of course all the other days like we can plan and do whatever. But we've become a lot more flexible since we've all gotten closer. So like, and then like Saturdays are typically her and I's time as well. But
To go to the club.
go to the club. Yeah, when we go out. We had our fill of like dancing and stuff last weekend at Pride, which was an absolute blast.
Mm-hmm.
But really, it's about being vulnerable with each other, because we all have feelings that aren't so nice all the time, and no one's perfect, and it's just important how y'all come out on the other side. Why are you flicking me?
Because it's fun.
Let's see.
Okay. Yeah. Obviously, there's 4 of us, so a lot of us have said the same things. Communication, yes. Group chat. I also run our Google Calendar because that's, of course, the stereotypical poly thing. Is
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even check it anymore, though.
Rude.
Bad Macca.
Rude. Anyway, we as a polycule have evolved is definitely the best way to say as far as our communication, jealousy, and conflicts. It used to be very, very rigid, to where there was very little intersection between the 4 of us at the beginning when we all started interacting, and through therapy, through communication, through trial and error, and just never giving up, we have forged a path, like we said at the beginning of the stream, where we're going to be moving in all together. And we accept the fact that when you do finally integrate like that, that's going to create a whole different level of expectation that you have to negotiate and navigate when you start living with everyone together, not just in the poly setting, just living with other humans, and the expectations and things like that. It's just going to have a whole nother degree of necessity for communication. Our conflicts, when we do have it, we try to kind of rally around the person who's struggling and really kind of give them love and support in whatever way they need to have that happen. I think probably everyone is going to talk to some degree about this. Over communication is never bad in poly. Knowing more information is always helpful. And it also is a big thing, which a lot of people might struggle with, is I have stressed you just be open, share where you are, and don't be afraid to talk about where you are and where your feelings are and where you're struggling from, because 9 times out of 10 someone else is going to have that experience or that understanding, and you're going to be able to find a common link with that other person that you didn't think was there. And yeah, so definitely jealousy stems from insecurity. It's an insecurity that you aren't generally enough, or you're not feeling that your needs are met enough. So if you can say, hey, I'm insecure about X because I saw this and it triggered me, then you have a very good foundation for being like, okay, and not be like, you're making me feel this way. Like, take ownership, take accountability for your feelings and your emotions and your situations is incredibly vital when you're in a relationship with more than one person, because it originates from you 99% of the time. And if you have the ability to focus on that and handle it in that way, then you can avoid the blame and the real raw kind of situations if you take that responsibility.
Yeah, even if like you feel like the issue you have is something like small, or you're embarrassed about it, just put it out there, lean on your polycule, because like she said, they could be feeling the same way.
Anyway, I
Absolutely.
think we're down with our time. Let's move on.
Well, we're at 9:05, aren't we?
I don't know, take a little bit more.
Raven, you're next. Ooh.
Raven, love, we can't hear you.
Yeah.
I can.
Hi. Yep.
Okay, cool.
That means I have to bring the phone closer to my face. So sorry. So my pronouns are she, her. Um, so as for jealousy, a lot of the ways we deal with that is communication. Communication is definitely key in a poly relationship. Any form of jealousy, anytime, uh, definitely take the time to communicate, whether it's between me and Rob or, him and his other partners. We take the time to sit down and communicate and express what's going on and how we feel and how to take care of that situation. Same thing with like conflicts. Um, we don't try and we try and make sure no conflicts happen, but if one does, um, we let everybody, calm down, and then we come back and we sit down and we talk and we express what happened, why it happened, and how we can fix it to make sure it never happens again. So a lot of it is, like I said, communication is definitely the big thing for us. And then sharing time with partners. We found best that a calendar works because when you have multiple partners, you got to use a calendar. Otherwise, it becomes crazy and things get messed up, and it's calendars. You could put when people work, especially when you have different work schedules, when we have events, when we do events together. It just makes things a lot easier. Um,
I swear poly is just a scheduling kink.
It's a
it is.
scheduling thing.
It is. Yeah. No.
Like,
It
As a
is.
hyperlogical person, I enjoy it because I'm the one who created our calendar between Raven, Rob, and I, and I very much enjoy it because I color coded it, and it's I like it.
Yeah. No. It's
I
color
manage that.
coordinated. We have different labels for everything, for work, for different events and everything. It works wonders. So now we have different calendars with different people. It's great. But yeah, definitely the biggest thing when it comes to a poly relationship, communication is 100% the way it's gonna work. If you don't communicate, it makes it hard. You can't read each other's minds. You have to communicate. Otherwise, people's feelings can get hurt and they get stressful, and you don't want that to happen.
That'd be true.
Yeah.
I guess I'm next up on this. So first off, I work a very not normal schedule. So I work 14 days, and then I'm off for 14 days. And as has been pointed out, I'm literally in the middle of the ocean right now, on a floating chunk of metal in the Gulf. So like all my communication is by phone and text and everything for 14 days, and then I'm home for 14 days, and I don't have to go to work or anything. So that calendar is an absolute lifesaver. My calendar is full by the time I get home, but I'm also so absent-minded that I need it. Like they keep me in line and in check because otherwise I'd lose myself. Um, the biggest things to that and the biggest jealousy issues we've had in our relationship between the three of us and again with my wife too, our biggest sticking points have been time, and more specifically forgetting who I'm supposed to be spending time with, or over, and actually in my case it's overextending myself, because I want to make everybody happy, so I will overextend myself. and forget to do something like sleep. I usually get to eat, but sleeping is I forget that I have to get sleep.
I love you
Um,
for the dear God. Please stop moving your chair. Thank you.
okay, the whole platform is moving right now. We are in a storm.
Okay,
But
yeah,
you're
but you
moving
move
your
like a
chair.
couple degrees, not like a crab ship.
Yeah. Um,
Yes, Daddy Warden.
yeah, that calendar is absolutely necessary just for me to keep it, and it minimizes conflict, really, because most of the conflicts we've had have literally been regarding time, um, and equal division of time, um, and yeah, calendars. That's my answer.
Absolutely.
The number one god that the pagans worship is Calendurus.
Yep.
Uh,
You mighty calendar.
solid dad joke. I like it.
Yes.
So she's
That is
And I
awesome.
feel that's so hard because I'm
Are for
in our
all
polycule.
that joke.
I'm the one that schedules everything. Like all plans
Right?
funnel through me because my partners are ADHD goblins and cannot plan anything.
Okay, riddle me this. I'm the ADHD goblin, but I run our calendar.
You're
It's a
also
spectrum.
OCD. Yeah,
It's a
No,
spectrum.
okay, honey, I'm not OCD. I'm autistic. Get it right.
fair.
Yeah,
whacked
oh,
in the head.
It's true.
But the problem is we're
Very
all
true.
autistic.
you got too excited. You whacked Issa.
I'm sorry.
Don't look at me like that, mister.
All
Hey,
right, Heathen,
I
back
do
to the
good
question.
filling out.
Okay, so back to the question. I mean, honestly, we're all kind of beating this dead horse of communication and calendars and
Yes.
over communicating. I personally don't internally deal with a lot of jealousy. I'll have flickers of it sometimes, but I logic my way out of it, or I will psychoanalyze myself out of it um, before it becomes an issue that I need to communicate. Uh, so I'm just an odd duck uh, in that manner, but also I appreciate my partners for their communication when they have issues because I can super help apply psychology and logic to problems and come to some sort of compromise or solution or see things from other perspectives. And so I just over communicate and try to help resolve things from that manner. I'm just I don't know, back to like trying to squirrel. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
And we'll like absolutely 100% recommend a conversation with Warden when you're having any issues, because like even if the issues aren't involved in Warden's polycule, like if I'm like, hey, I am 10/10 psycho right now, please talk me down and help
Mhm.
me work through this. And it's been amazing.
Absolutely. Having a mediator and not ganging up on your like if you're having like an internal fight in the polycule, don't have the entire polycule gang up on the one person. That's the worst thing you can do.
Oh yeah, no. I will say, Titan, there was something that you quoted in Dan and Don's class that I will throw out there, and that was comparison is the thief of joy.
Mhm.
So when you find yourself comparing yourself to your metas or other partners, um, when you're with your partner, uh, just remind yourself that you're comparing yourself to someone that is not in the room with you currently, and be present, be in the moment with your current partner, because comparison is the thief of joy.
True. in my final round is what advice do you have? Oh, did we miss one? Oh, what advice do you have for people that are interested in exploring the poly lifestyle that will help them succeed? For me, I think that would be dropping all expectations of what you think the relationship is going to be and let things evolve naturally. Because when you put those concepts of what you think are going to happen, you really limit the structure of your relationship. Like, I never planned for us to have more than our initial triad. And here we are, we have our fourth nesting partner, and then we have various accessory partners that um and I wouldn't change it for the world. Like, I absolutely love where things are.
Those were my finger drums, but so advice. I am really new to coming into poly, doing all of that, so I will give the advice that I know from my own experience. My experience coming into poly was a little rough in how quickly everything moves. So letting things develop organically is so important, and not trying to rush things. And for me, it was removing should out of my vocabulary, because there are a lot of things that could be, should be, but it doesn't matter because it is what it is. And so removing that expectation of should really helped me move on. And then research. I will say, do the self work, do the shadow work, do the inner work to help know where your baseline and center is. And then also doing the work to, if you're like me and you're a researcher, read the books, do the journals, um, work through all of the things that you can do for yourself. And then as you enter in and you add the relationships and you work through all of that, then do the work with your partners as well. And that's really the biggest thing. And then working on communication skills, because I know we beat a dead horse about it, but working on those communication skills are so important to ensuring that you feel heard, that your partners feel heard, and that everyone is getting everything they need out of it.
Us now.
I would definitely say, I know everybody says it, but it really is important. Communication. Don't bottle things up. If something bothers you, get it out in the air right away. Talk about it, because letting any sort of resentment, linger, it'll continue to make things worse. It's not just going to magically disappear. And the more things that frustrate you without communicating about them, the bigger the blow up you might have when you eventually kind of lose a little bit of control. So just make sure you tackle things one at a time as they come. As soon as you feel a certain way about it, communicate, and you all can compromise and understand each other better. Come up with boundaries if that's what you need. But definitely don't just stay quiet and let things fester under the surface.
Who's next?
You. We're waiting for you.
Okay. I think the best advice, if someone is just completely new and thinking about exploring polyamory, exploring ethical non-monogamy, relationship anarchy, whatever you want to call it, or style, mode, flavor you want to go for, I think the most important thing is, before you make that leap, I think you really need to do some internal work and not focus on what you may gain, but on what your partner or partners may end up doing. And think of, hey, it's not about me getting to sleep with multiple people or getting to make out with multiple people, or you know, um, you know, it's not about, of course it's important for you to get your needs met. It's important for everything to be consensual and for you to want to be in these relationships. But if you get in these relationships, a lot of people get stuck in the egotistical trap and they don't realize what they feel like. So the first time they see their partner have a partner and it's not focused on them, a lot of people fall into a real strong egotistical jealousy, envy, despair trap. And so I think that it's really helpful to try to head that off. And before you get into polyamory, if you can, to really work on saying, how would I feel seeing my partner kiss another person? How would I feel knowing my partner is having intimate interactions with another person? And really do the work in yourself and say, hey, is this something that I can unteach myself, or is this something that it's really stuck in me? And because the worst thing that you could possibly do is not listen to your heart and then jump into a poly situation and then end up completely brokenhearted and have a polycule fall apart, or and develop poly trauma or whatnot because you didn't listen to your own damn heart and didn't do the own internal work. Because polyamory does demand a higher standard of internal self-respect and self-understanding. And if you're not willing to do the work, maybe sit yourself out until you can.
Yep. I would say let things happen organically. Don't force, don't push, don't do any of that. And yes, dead horse, communicate your feelings on everything. Think about, like what Glenn said, how you would feel seeing your other partner with somebody else. And that it's okay to feel some type of way about it at first. It's an adjustment for some, and that's okay. You don't have to be completely perfect and happy with everything right away. There's going to be tweaks, adjustments that need to be sorted out. And poly does not look the same in every polycule. It's different. Every poly relationship is different. The way I do poly may not be the way others do poly, and that's okay. I think that's something that a lot of people don't know. And then, like, just because your poly does not make you promiscuous, I think that's a stereotype that's out there. And if you are promiscuous, hey, more power to you. Be safe. I don't have a problem. But everybody's different, and it's okay to be different. And do your research. Read there's a couple books there's one called The Ethical Slut, which is a really good one. And then there's Poly Secure. Just learn as much as you can and let things unfold beautifully and naturally. Your turn.
Okay.
I know, finally, right?
Princess doesn't like waiting.
I'm fine. I would say, to not echo everyone else, that a big part of it is to be direct and honest about what you want. Honesty is something that is crucial in poly, if not for any type of relationship, in my opinion. If you aren't honest with what you're looking for and what you're wanting, then you need to do your own inventory of what you're expecting. How can you expect to be in any relationship with one person, let alone multiple possibly, if you're not being honest about what you expect to have happen and what you're looking for? And the other thing is also understanding that people change. So relationships evolve. Sometimes things get added, sometimes things are taken out based off that. And that's why negotiation is really, really important between partners, because somebody could be really hypersexual for the beginning couple years of their relationship, and then for whatever reason that changes, and each of those partners has to understand that that person has had something transpire to change their relationship, and then you negotiate, okay, is this relationship still functional with or without this component? And that's, again, communication, but negotiation, I think, is really, really critical in polyamory, because you need to know exactly what the person wants and doesn't want. And intimately, you need to understand what your partner's into and what they like and what they enjoy. So, knowing that for your partner and knowing that for yourself, I think is really, really critical.
Next people's.
Next person.
Little.
Hey, that's my tits.
I guess I'll be next. So definitely letting it happen naturally is definitely a big thing. My previous poly relationship did not happen naturally, and it was not a good situation. It's a very, very toxic situation, actually, due to it. So definitely let things happen naturally, naturally and comfortably. You want to make sure everybody's comfortable with one another. But also do your research, like they said. There's lots of good books out there. If you can talk to other poly people, that helps. If people can tell you from their experiences what works and what doesn't work. We just had an event, Scissor Tail. We had a poly class, and we learned from experiences that these people had, and it was very educational and very helpful to know that we're not the only ones that experience these things as well, and here's how they dealt with it, and here's how we could possibly deal with the same things. But I found that doing the research and just making sure that you're comfortable with what's happening and communicating with everybody, what you're feeling, and that everything is happening naturally and smoothly is the best way, I think, to let it happen, in a sense. If I could go back and have that happen with with my previous one, I think it would have made my first introduction with poly be a little different. But I'm glad that I have my partner now and my metas now to give me a good experience with poly, because we're all comfortable with one another, and it's all happened naturally, between me and my partner, and him and his partners. And so and being able to experience that, I can give that advice to other people. So like I said, definitely research, letting it happen naturally, and just make sure you're open and communicate about how you're feeling.
I guess I get to be the good advisory. Jump in with both feet. No, not really.
Oh yeah, and this you keep saying this little fur ball. This is Salem. He says hi.
Aww.
You say hi. Yeah.
Why'd you lock the cats out of the room?
Thank you.
That cat is rotten, by the way. Absolutely rotten.
He's not rotten. He's
Yes, he is.
being cuddly and lovey.
Heathens. On topic.
I'm
Anyway,
sorry. I saw the other kitty jump on the shoulders, and then I saw the kitty.
So, really, for the most part, though, I want to say take it slow, do research. I already heard somebody mention Ethical Slut, probably one of my favorite books that I've read so far. And of course, everybody got to go see the poly toolbox, the toolkit. authors, and unfortunately, I was out here, so I didn't get to see them.
Dan
I really
and
wanted,
John.
yeah. Um, but really, not to be cheesy here, but like, listen to your heart. There's a certain amount of, if it doesn't feel right, step back and figure out why. Maybe you haven't done the internal work. Maybe something about this isn't good. I mean, I literally had to teach class here on the rig today, and the point of my class was listen to your gut, because your gut's going to tell you if something's not right. And if your gut's telling you something's not right, don't ignore it. It may not be right. It may not be right for you. It may not be right for this other person. This other person may be an absolutely wonderful person, but you're not ready for it at the time. Or they could be throwing red flags, and they're so XYZ, you want to ignore them, but your gut's telling you, hey, let's look at this. Hold on, let's take a step back. So listen to yourself. Listen to your internal dialogue, and it will help you lead the way.
So basically, I'm like wrapping it up, and the conclusion of everybody's is all of that and the above. But I just kind of have different words I internalize for it, of just coming into it from the get-go, doing your research, but also doing your own internal work to make sure that you have the emotional maturity to know yourself, to know that you have the emotional maturity to tolerate multiple personalities and multiple emotions at the same time. It's like you have to know that about yourself before you get into polyamory, because like if you're not mature enough for it, then it's not going to go well. And you're going to wind up getting yourself hurt or hurting others. And then also knowing yourself, and kind of what to lean on what Titan said earlier, is removing your expectations. So not only to go into polyamory without expectations of like what you think it should look like, but also remove the expectations for yourself as well of what you think you should be doing. Because don't try to put yourself into a box before you get started. So don't be like, well, I am this, I'm going to be a parallel poly. It's like, let it evolve as it's going to evolve, and then be open to what your emotions are and where they lead you. And it will evolve how it needs to. And if you're open to that, and if you're mature enough to handle it, and responsible and communicate well enough, then I would say that's a wonderful and beautiful way to get into poly. But I'm not sure who in the quad was talking, but do the inner work first.
Ow!
I think that's about it. I want to thank everybody for coming on, and thank you for showing up to speak about this. Um, and with that, um, you guys find us here or wherever you find us. We're on YouTube within the Cauldron. Um, show some love to all of these wonderful people, and have a blessed night. And remember, monogamy is hard in this economy, and that's why we're following.
Thank you for the
Multi-income
opportunity.
households.
Thank you for
That's
the
awesome.
opportunity to come on here and be able to speak to. I think it's a wonderful thing to be able to remove the stigma from poly. And I love the work that you're doing. And not just because you're my brother.
Agreed. Thank you for the time.
Thank you
Thank
very
you for having
much.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Be gay, do crimes.
Absolutely.
What kind of crimes?
Polyamory.
Okay.
I mean, depending on your state, yeah, be gay, do crime.
Mhm. Especially if you're in the military. That was a fun one.
Yeah. All right.
But everybody have a great weekend, and we'll play the outro here.